What's going on, guys? This is Mikeinoid, and today we will be unboxing the Sega Genesis Mini. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't own any Sega consoles before this video. You see, I was born around the time Sega released the Dreamcast and started walking when Sega discontinued the system. So I never owned Sega consoles when growing up, and no one I knew had Sega consoles. So I only collect for Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox because that's what I've been around my whole life. Even though I have no desire to collect Sega products, I am fully aware that there were some fantastic games on Sega consoles, especially the Sega Genesis. I've always wanted to play the classics of the Sega Genesis, but I don't want to spend a bunch of money for the console and games, which is why I picked up the Sega Genesis Mini. This classic console was released last year for a retail price of $80. Of course, I waited to get it a bit cheaper, so I got my Genesis Mini for $50 at Best Buy. As you can see, the box is very similar to its original box. On the back, we see all 42 games that are playable on the console. Even though I hardly know about the Genesis's game library, I can still recognize some of the more well-known titles, such as Sonic, Sonic 2, Streets of Rage 2, and Gunstar Heroes, and even ECCO the Dolphin. The first thing I pull out when opening the box is one of the two Genesis Mini controllers. This is my first time holding a Genesis controller, and it feels really good and it looks amazing. The second controller is exactly the same as the first, so I'll just put that to the side. Here we have the AC adapter because Sega knows we want one right out of the box. Next is the instruction manual, of course telling you how to hook it up in 3 different languages. And then we have the HDMI cord as well as the micro USB cord, which will power the console. Finally, we have the Genesis Mini inside another box, giving it that extra protection. I'm looking at this and I have to say, this looks pretty damn good. On the top, you have the power switch, reset button, and volume slider, which doesn't do anything besides adding extra detail. Also, you can mess with the cartridge flaps, which is pretty dope. The front is where you plug in the USB controllers. On the back, you have a tab that you can slide out, and this is because Sega actually made accessories for the Genesis Mini, which were the Sega CD and 32X that could be put together to look like the tower that most Sega fans know and love. They don't do anything to enhance the console's performance, they're just there for collectors to enjoy. And then on the back, we have the HDMI port and the micro USB port. So here I have a bunch of classic consoles we can compare the Sega Genesis Mini with. We have the Famicom Classic, the NES Classic, SNES Classic, and of course the beloved PlayStation Classic. They're all relatively the same size. Of course, all of them are slightly different in shapes. So now let's go and plug in the power cord and controller and take a look at the interface and of course play some games. After putting in our language, we jump right into the game selection screen, which can be sorted by year released and alphabetically. We can set the screen ratio as well as the option for a background wallpaper, and we can add screen filters if we wanted to make it look like we're playing on an older TV. Of course, it all comes down to how great the games run, and I have to tell you, they look pretty good. I tried out Sonic, ECCO the Dolphin, Streets of Rage 2, and Gunstar Heroes, and they all run smoothly. This was my first time trying out ECCO the Dolphin. It's pretty weird, but I started to get hooked in. There's something satisfying about just swimming as a dolphin, I guess. Jumping out of the water was pretty cool. And it was also my first time checking out Streets of Rage 2. I heard a lot about the soundtrack, and you know, the first music that I came across was really good. So overall, for $50, I say this was money well spent. I get to check out some of the greatest Genesis games on a console that's pretty close to the original thing, and even the console itself has incredible detail compared to the other classic systems. I'm glad I found the Sega Genesis Mini for a good price before they eventually disappear from stores. Well, that's going to be it for today's video. I want you guys to comment what you guys think about the Genesis Mini and what good Genesis games are missing from this console. Thank you guys for watching, and of course, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. I really need to get back playing ECCO the Dolphin. That game is crazy. From